There's another piece of science that we did, which I think is interesting. It's we took the color photographs of the shroud, and then at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, John Lohr and Don Lin made a color-enhanced computer photograph of the shroud, which we see now on the monitor. You can, this is very interesting. Part of what they had to do here was to correct for the uneven illumination caused by the photographic process. You generally have light that will spread out radially across the image, but we need to balance all that. And when you do this, you then can operate on that image with various computer techniques. Now, what was done here is to place the image, the whole shroud, body image, blood, everything, and drive it into another region of the color space. Now, the reason we do this is because the human eye can see differences in shape, in color, much easier than they can differences in shading. And so we hopefully might be able to see things here that are you don't normally notice if you're just looking at the shroud image directly. But first of all, I'd like to call attention to roughly the middle of the screen. You see the quartet of patches. The second patch to the right, just to the left of that, is a reddish stain. That is, of course, the wound in the side. And I'd like you to note that the color is basically a maroon color in this color space representation. Remember, it's been operated on just the same way as the rest of the body image and so forth. Now, that color is very much different than either the body image color structure or the burn mark color structures. I think is quite evident to anyone who looks at this. Now, if you go to the body image, the facial image, we see that the colors go from a red to an orange to a turquoise color, and then ultimately that turquoise color bleeds off into sort of a pinkish background. Mm-hmm. The pink is the background color of the shroud. Notice that the same color structure surrounds the 1532 fire. You go from the red to the orange to the turquoise, then bleeds also into the pink. In other words, the color structure of the body image is identical to that of the burn marks. This is a color representation way of saying what I just said. Now, there's something else, though, that is...
So basically, you could see that with the naked eye, and this just corroborates it when you're looking at it much more scientifically. Okay.
It's like getting a second opinion.
It's like getting a second. It's great.
Good.
It's taking a scientific aid, in this case the computer, to help us even accentuate the abilities of the human eye in color resolution to see what's here.
Okay.
Now, going back to that photograph, there's another feature here that I just find absolutely or very interesting, and that is surrounding the face, around the top of the hair, you see a turquoise, I would call it a halo that surrounds the face. It goes completely around the head. Now, you don't see this in the looking at the normal shroud, but you see it in the color representation. And what this would say to me is that whatever it was that put this image onto the shroud, the body image onto the shroud, it was able to do something to the cloth away from the head region, several centimeters away. And we see it as a color discoloration. The cloth has responded by a very subtle color difference to the body image forming mechanism.
Are you saying, and I'm not sure, are you saying that parts of the body that were not touching the cloth were affected by this process of the image formation?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, we already inferred this when we talked about the three-dimensional quality of the shroud. We showed that there is a relationship between image intensity and cloth body distance.
Yes.
I think we're also seeing the same effect here, but we're seeing it in a color representation. Okay. So it's nice to see the same conclusion echoed in two different forms of data. One was an intensity correlation with cloth body distance. Here's one with a color representation. As a physicist, seeing something like this, I think we're looking at sort of an action at a distance mechanism. We might think of diffusion or possibly radiation could do this. In other words, we're taking information from the body to the cloth over a distance somehow.
Amazing.